Welcome to the Chai Chat Podcast, solutions for empowered living. Engaging, educating, empowering. Each week, your hosts Taron Puri, author of Finding the Guru Within, and Steve Harvey, mindset mentor to A-list celebrities and stars, bring a combined expertise of over 6 decades in mentoring, coaching, and inspiring positive solutions to the negatives which keep us stuck and unhappy. With a focus on solutions versus problems, in each episode, they discuss topics relevant to the human condition, which challenge us from moving forward into positive growth and ultimate freedom. Through stream of consciousness, unscripted dialogue and inquiry, they provide practical, deep, and actionable insights to support you in creating and living a happy, successful, fulfilled life. Join us each week and learn how to access your own inner GPS, your guru positioning system, which comes preset with all the solutions you need for empowered living. Living a life of ease versus effort is only a thought away. Let us show you what works and what doesn't. Hello, and welcome to Chai Chat, the podcast. I am Taron Puri.
And I'm Steve Harvey.
And today, Steve and I are going to take on the topic of good guru, bad guru. So what the heck are we talking about, Steve, when we're saying good guru, bad guru? I mean, it's catchy, but where do we start?
Yeah, and I think it's one of those words that's really been overused so much in life right now. Taken out of context, everywhere you go, there's a different guru on the high street, within the spa guru, the wellness guru, the interior decorator guru,
the seat guru, and you can have a guru that will help you find the right seat on an airplane, for God's sakes.
Exactly.
Right. And the word is, it's very interesting you make that point, Steve, because I think we've become a little bit too relaxed or even lax with our use of words, in that we don't understand the power of sound and the power of a word. In the mother tongue, the Sanskrit language, and I call it the mother tongue because even Latin comes from Sanskrit. Sanskrit language was created to mimic the sounds of nature. And a mantra, which is a recited series of words and syllables that are put together in a certain way in order to create a certain frequency or a vibration. So it's very important that when a mantra is read or recited or sung, that the sounds are accurate. So a word, in a sense, becomes a mantra. It's not only that you're using a word, the intention behind that word and the sounding of the word is so important. And certain words, of course, every word has a personality, right? When you think of a word, immediately you have a feeling that goes with the word. And so sometimes I think that we disrespect the sacredness of certain words and we become lax with them or the context of their use, right? And so I find that guru is just a fascinating word. And as you know, my book is called Finding the Guru Within. And I don't know if you know, but I had somebody in marketing, a big company, and when they saw the title and my little write-up on it initially, when I was thinking about it, they warned me that maybe I shouldn't use the word guru. And I said, why? They said, oh, it's people are going to react to the word, or it's going to work against you. And I really couldn't understand it. And maybe they were saying it's overused. Maybe they themselves weren't understanding the context of that word, that I wasn't peddling some Far Eastern philosophy or religion, but I was really speaking about that inner light, that inner intelligence, the brilliance within us. Call it a program if you want to use modern day parlance, that program within us. Actually, I call it your GPS, your guru positioning system. And what I was referring to when was saying that finding your inner guru was that, imagine if you had that inner GPS system. And as a GPS, when you get it, you plug and off you go, because it's already pre-programmed with all the destinations and the maps and even the stopovers and anything you may desire is already in there. So the inner guru, your inner guru, my inner guru are programmed, customized to my journey here. And so when I talked about finding the guru within, we could have said finding the higher power within, finding our soul within, finding the light within. It didn't matter what we referred to it as. It doesn't change its essential nature. But just to set the record straight, I talk about the guru and what is a guru and a true guru and a false guru in the second chapter of the book. But I give a quick definition from the Sanskrit write-ups. Okay, so gu basically refers to darkness, and ru refers to that which dispels darkness. And another word for darkness is ignorance. You know how we always say in the English language, I don't know what you're talking about, Steve, I'm in the dark, right? Enlighten me, right? So I'm still in the dark, enlighten me. So our language already speaks to that by you bringing some learning to me, I can become lighter in my knowing, in my knowledge. You can enlighten me. So guru basically is the one that dispels the darkness or dispels the ignorance. And so there's many levels and manifestations of guru. And I'm hoping that today we will gain an appreciation through our chat about who is our guru, and we have some pretty radical statements, I think, that we're going to make today that make people shake their head a little bit, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think there's so many gurus. As I say, I like to call them the high street gurus. There's so many gurus today, both in the East and the West, and each one of them seems to be pointing to his or her own way of enlightenment. And so how is one to know that they're speaking the truth?
That's the question of the century, isn't it? Or centuries. Some of them can be incredibly charming and beguiling and seem to embody the garb and the look of what we think a guru should be, right?
It's interesting you say that, because many years ago, I invited Joseph Kurian to Calgary, and he was the Gurukul of the Danur-Vedic tradition. And I remember coming back to my office with him. We'd been for lunch, and we were sat at the traffic lights, and I turned to him and I said, "Joseph, do you really believe in gurus?"
Oh.
And he said, "Of course I do." He said, "How does a cardiologist become a cardiologist if he doesn't have a guru?" And at that time, I'd been reading a lot of Krishnamurti's teachings. And I turned to Joseph and I said, I have a real tough time with this whole guru thing. I'll never forget what he said. He turned to me and he said, "I know you do. Why do you think I'm here?"
Wow. Wow.
And then he went on to say, "Steve, your guru could be the biggest prostitute that walks the face of the earth, but that's why they're your guru."
He actually said that?
That's what he said. It could be the biggest prostitute that walks the face of the earth, but that's why they're your guru. And he said, if people, found out half the things I discovered my guru doing, they would have been appalled. But it took my guru to behave in that manner for me to get my lesson. And the light went on for me, because at that time, what was on the news of all the newspapers, on the TV, was that Sheldon Kennedy, who was an ice hockey player, National Hockey League player, came out and spoke about he'd been sexually abused by his coach in junior hockey. And the coach was a fellow by the name of Graham James. And I thought, oh my gosh, his guru, his coach, right, his mentor, right? And that's what I remember Joseph saying, you think there should be these enlightened masters with the saffron robes that do no wrong, but they could be the biggest prostitute that walks the face of the earth. And I thought, my goodness. And the interesting thing out of that, Sheldon Kennedy discovered what his true purpose in life was not to be an ice hockey player, but was to go on and become an advocate for, sexual abuse in junior sports, not just hockey, and had skated across Canada to raise awareness for this, and then went on to become a therapist, which he's doing to this day, and so it's interesting how we think that for us to discover our purpose in life, we have to, sit at the feet of the master, these enlightened gurus that do no wrong. And yet some of the greatest teachings that we could ever get could be from those petty tyrants that show up in our life. And from that, we discover what our true purpose or true calling in life is. So I think it's interesting for us to discuss that whole, issue or concept of guru, bad guru, and how we tend to have a specific perception of guru as being a certain way. And to really, as you said, everyone could be a guru,
Well, and everybody is a guru, because
Yes.
I feel that in this matrix that we call planet Earth, we arrive here with a script in hand that we hand out, or maybe even before, and then everybody essentially plays their part in order to help us to learn and grow. And look, I was a professional student for, way too many years. And I had to have classes and lessons that I didn't like, to be honest, right? I didn't particularly enjoy. And if you didn't make me take them, I probably wouldn't have, right? But I couldn't get my piece of paper at the end of that. So it's not that I had signed up for a program in which I could control everything that came my way and everybody who delivered the message, and I could control the whole inputs and make it, sort of my journey without challenge. It's just couldn't be, and I wouldn't have grown in the way that I grew now. Actually, some of my toughest, most demanding teachers were the ones that I remember today, right? And then I honor and I thank. I remember in law school, one of the teachers, that gentleman from South Africa, and he came from a tradition, he taught property law, of the dialectic, the Socratic method of learning, which meant that, and you had quite a few students in class. You would get into the, you would kind of sit there. I was at University of British Columbia. We maybe had 200 of us, maybe 100 in a class, high corner. And he would get up there to start lecturing, and then he would stop and he would scan the audience, and I would like try to disappear, because of course I hadn't read my notes, of course, right? And don't pick me. And guess what, right? And he would constantly, quote, pick on you and ask questions. And it was hard work. It was like, why don't you just give me the answers? I'll memorize them and then I'll give them back to you. I mean, why aren't you playing by the rules, right? And so, he had a reputation of being tough and actually making you think. And so, but guess what? I'm talking about him today, right? I'm actually, he left an impression because he challenged me. He challenged me to stretch and push myself and see, right? So in that sense, wow. And again, we're talking about good guru, bad guru, but my distinction, kind of a synopsis, I suppose, of what I wrote the short chapter on, because it became very clear to me that I've called this book Finding the Guru Within, maybe because of this marketing gentleman and other people who mentioned it to me. I thought, let's just be clear that we understand what we're talking about. So in the second chapter, I did a very short chapter, and I talked about, true guru and false guru. But I did start out by saying that my grade 1 teacher was my guru, because there's somebody that taught me something, that was in a position to bring me to another level of understanding and learning and awareness and growth, right? So to me, all of those that have contributed to my growth, wittingly or otherwise, right, are and have been and always will be my gurus. So in that sense, who isn't our guru? because I see life as this journey we're on, in which every moment is an opportunity to grow. And how do we grow? Through learning. And how do we learn? By interacting with our environment, observing, listening, right? And considering and integrating. And so to me, in that sense, I consider all of life actually to be my guru.
Yeah, you don't have to go to India to find your guru. Who you're with is your guru.
Well, okay, wait a minute, right? India, okay, I'm having a conflict here because, of course, I love to take people to India and show them my India. But I hear what you're saying. I'll behave myself. Yes, you don't have to, and you can't believe the number of people I've coached over the years. Smart, intelligent, vibrant seekers. And they came and did an energy training with me, and we get all talking in the class. So what are you planning? And they're like, well, I'm leaving my husband. And I'm like, oh, that's it. Why is he a bad guy? Is he abusive? No, he's fine. But why are you leaving your husband? Well, I've been on a spiritual quest, and there's this guru, and she's in India, and I've been sort of checking out the organization, and they've offered to fly me over there and be part of the the following or whatever. And I said, so you're going to leave your husband, you're going to leave your job, okay, because you seem to have this need to go halfway around the world and give your power to someone who says, I know better for you than you do.
Yeah. This devotion to these false prophets,
Well,
and as you say, any of them that encourages you to go against your better judgment, so to speak, through his words or her words and her behaviors, and encourage you to be devoted to him or her. I think they're sending the wrong message. And I think there's, as you know, there's thousands of them all over India, and very, very wealthy people.
Very wealthy. Well, again,
but as you say, how it's incredible how people who we consider are very smart, educated, intelligent people are taken in by this. And so I wonder what's at the root cause of that? What's beneath all of that? What void are they trying to fill?
That's right. That's exactly the question. And I have observed this, and I've even had direct experience. There's a guru in the world who's extremely well known now, and they have marketed their brand so brilliantly. But in the late 80s, I was in Vancouver and we crossed paths, and great teaching. I mean, here's the confusion that happens is that in those situations, the words that they're speaking, from various scriptures, it doesn't matter, are divine truths, but the intention that is coming through and the message behind all of that is, you see, I know and you don't. Give me your power, give me dominion over your mind, and I will bring you to freedom. And I'm like, and I was very young at that time. And I was working with the federal government as in my position with immigration. And I had a private audience with this guru gentleman that night, late in the night, because they did all these satsangs and stuff. It was about 10:30 at night. And I had some questions for him. And I mean, these people are talented. They have been given a gift. They can see energy. They can see you. It's not that they don't have that connection. It's what they're doing with it. And he could see in me some light that I was bringing. And he offered to fast track me directly to join them and become part of his inner circle instantly. He said, we're setting up at the university and we're having camp, and you can be part of my inner circle and you'll meet these people that are like you. And instantly he could just, and I looked at that and I went, no, thank you. I got to get into work tomorrow morning. And I moved away from that because I saw that despite the allure of the knowledge that I was seeking, that he definitely had, and the talent and the gift and the ability to work miracles and see energies and read, all of that, I won't take that away. But what I immediately sensed was this was not clean, that my salvation right? At what
Yeah.
cost? My
At what
salvation,
cost?
my freedom was not their primary motive. And I had enough sense, thank God, to my dad being my first guru. So I grew up with a true guru that brought me to the what? A true guru, a real true guru will always bring you to the edge of your magnificence and
Yeah.
and guide you to take that step, have the trust and do whatever work it takes and learn the skills you need in order to fly. But it's the edge of your magnificence, and they're never threatened by it. They actually, a true guru is someone who seeks to make you, let's say, as somebody who's learning from them, better than them,
Mm-hmm.
rather than compete with you and say, "Oh my gosh, this Steve dude is getting really good. He better not outshine me now because I'm the guru, right?" So you can really quickly see the whole game unraveling. And yet, here's my point: we don't see it, and it's hard not to get into judgment of that dynamic. We're not judging. We're seeking, I think, here to understand what is it that compels that game, that game to be played out in that arena, that part of this lifetime or a lot of this lifetime I'm going to go and give my power to someone who I think um, can do better with it for me.
Yeah, it's again that infatuation. We look at someone, we put them on a pedestal, and we maximize them relative to ourselves. And that's whoever you put on the pedestal, sooner or later you're going to put them in the pit.
It's so true. It has to happen. And you've seen the
Yeah,
fall of the gurus, and you see the whole
exactly.
line. But the thing is that, so is it interplay of them putting out a message that you are not enough and you need me to connect to you? And then I
Exactly.
put out the message that I'm not enough and I need you, Steve. Can you be in charge of connecting me to me? And so there's some interplay there, and I'm willing to give up my family, my fortunes, my all of that. And your initial question was an important one. How do you know? Like, how do you know? Because I'm not taking away from the true gurus out there who people have followed and found liberation. But I feel that when I've investigated the dynamics of an organization or even the relationship between what I would call a true, authentic master soul, their disciples were never, ever controlled in the manner that they were told that they weren't enough, that they were deficient or somehow damaged goods, and that it was only the guru they would need, just like your weekly
Right.
or daily fix, in
Yeah.
order to maintain the right, like in diabetes, it's the right insulin levels, right?
Yeah.
Right. I don't. When I look at some of these relationships, I see that it was more of a, hey, you are a bright light. We are all bright lights, by the way. And I see your light. And if you have the intention, if you have the thirst, if you have the calling to want to unleash that, if you have a calling to want to allow it to blossom, then I, who may be further down that path, can guide you. But you still need to walk the path and do whatever it takes. And to me, that is the true gurus in our lives that can take us from A to B, and then somebody from B to C. And if we're lucky, somebody will take us from C to F, and right. And so otherwise, I find sometimes that we get played, and yet I cannot, because I don't ever choose to blame. How can I take accountability for that dynamic? And I see so many people giving up so much of their power consistently and constantly to authorities outside themselves. If we look at the guru as an authority, then we could say organizations, governments,
Yeah.
systems. medical systems or anything. They become our authority rather than our guides. See the difference? And they know what's
Exactly.
better for me. They know what's best for me. And so I blindly trust them.
Yeah.
I don't question. Okay? There's a difference when I still have things to learn and read and study and meditate upon in order to ask intelligent questions. That's a different kind of don't question outside of yourself, question within yourself, as opposed to, as I'm learning and growing, there are questions that are coming up that are having me doubt my faith. And as you would see, even in the Bible, the questions were welcome, because truth always stands up to doubting and questioning.
And
It welcomes
questioning.
it
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
truth. So the false gurus out there, uh, are taking up a lot of real estate in our lives, because I think somehow we've ended up in a default mode, which is a false program within us that somehow, um, I'm, I'm I'm not smart enough. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not. And therefore, I am now become vulnerable to anybody coming in and being able to play me.
Yeah. So it's ultimately, I think, recognizing what you recognize in them. You've got to find it and own it in yourself, because it's there. Every human being has got every human trait. So ultimately, as you say in your book, finding the guru within, the guru lies within you. And all the great teachers are nothing than mirrors of your own self, someone that you have created, your perception in your mind, to remind you of all the things you've forgotten within. And so again, if you can spot it, you've got it.
That's right. I love that catchy saying. If you can spot it, you've got it. But okay, let's take this to then a little bit of a more personal arena. Because I think we're talking in the macro and the philosophical aspects and the dialectic of trying to understand. But there's people out there, not even out there, there's people right here on this screen right now talking with you that have gone through experiences. And what you've just told me is that, okay, Taron, well, if you spot it, you've got it. If it's happening in your world or in your life, then there's that exists within you, okay, in some form or some way. So let's and I mean, I have done so much reflecting and integration on this line, because in my human consciousness, I always talk about human consciousness and soul consciousness. If I had mastery, I would be able to fuel off of my soul consciousness 24/7, and then I would be enlightened, right? But easier said than done. So that human consciousness jumps in, and the human part of me has had some pretty damaging, hurtful situations in my life. Let me give you a little example of one. I had I had an individual in my life who was a colleague, who became a best friend, and who became an amazing teacher for me. And I was in awe of their giftedness. Like, they really, really had a way of putting knowledge in models that one could relate to in practical terms. And they had a really good way of being able to show you where you may be having an issue because you didn't understand the power of alignment, or that somehow the awareness piece was a prerequisite, and many of these things. And in our friendship at many levels, I learned so very much through and from them. My way of organizing my thoughts and looking at myself and integrating and changing my behavior for the better was wonderful. And I thought, hey, this is a friendship for lifetime. And this is, I mean, I never thought of them. Actually, I used to call them master. I said, you got to have the word master by your name. And they'd be very humble and go, no, 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 but that's how I really looked at them. And I was very loyal. I have this quality that I'm very, very loyal. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's another topic. But I because I have a thirst for knowledge, and anyone who can who has possesses knowledge and that can help me grow, I just have almost blinders on with them. And through this process, as I built my own clients and business, I'm very sharing, and I openly shared my whole world with them, of which they promptly took great delight in. And it wasn't until way down the road that I discovered that at some level I had been played, and that this person had betrayed my friendship, and that they had been, showing one part at one side, but behind my back there were other things happening, and clients that used to be mine that I had stopped talking to me, and now they were working with them, and yet I saw them in a sense as a master or a guru. And remember, all this time I'm a very aware person, and I help people develop their awareness, and I coach and counsel people to see a lie from the truth, if you will. And here I was, despite all of this training and knowledge and expertise, I was a sucker in that sense. And I would want to say to you, Steve, wow, that was a really bad situation. That was a terrible thing that happened to me. Wow. I mean, I really got used and abused and hurt and betrayed. And that's how I would want to say it to you. What would you say to me?
I think you know. I think you know what I would say.
I know, but for the benefit of our friends, I think this dialogue will be important, because I can't imagine anybody out there listening who couldn't resonate with what I've just said, where you were being earnest and honest and clean and good, and in my mind anyways, I'm sure we're not, and authentic and all that, and somebody that I thought was truly egoless ended up pulling a huge ego trip on me, fooled me, and yet I learned so much from them and through them. And so there's the confusion, and you're trying to tell me that they were my guru, like.
Right, because again, if you can spot it, you've got it. Now, also, you said that they betrayed you, and I would say that you actually betrayed yourself by running a lopsided perception of them, that they were the saint and not the sinner. You see?
Wow.
And this is what we do when we run infatuation. We put people on a pedestal when we have this lopsided perception, but we're not seeing who they truly are. And it's interesting, in the Indian culture, we say, namaste, that
Yes.
the light in me honors the light in you. But, I like to say that the darkness in me shadows the darkness in you.
Oh my gosh.
We have both of it. We have light and dark. But, when we look at people, we, as I say, we're blind to what we would call the dark side, and we only see what we want to see, and we project that out there, and it gets mirrored back. But the moment they show the other side, we think, well, there's something wrong with this picture. But it really starts and ends with you. So they're just a reflection of that perception you were putting out there. They're mirroring it back to you. And so really, no one can betray us. That's our job.
So my need, or my choice, or my predisposition to, and I can, upon reflection in that whole time when I was into healing of that whole relationship and how it left me feeling many different things, and from an accountability point of view, yes, I hear what you're saying, and I had to look at myself in terms of my hunger or thirst for knowledge overrode my perception in terms of it became lopsided, because somebody was able to offer me that while there was other agendas running. And you're right, I maybe it's an Indian thing, when somebody's your teacher and guru, because they've imparted knowledge to you, you give them respect, right? That they have that position, and because anybody who carries knowledge is revered as sort of the highest on the ladder, and when they teach you, and when they lead you through the labyrinth of some of your issues, and show care and learning, then yes, you are 100% right there, that I had a lopsided perception. I had people around me, people who really cared about me and had my back, and also saw this person. And 2 years before
They
I
tried
saw
to
it,
warn you.
they tried to warn. Well, they could see it. They
Yeah.
could see that this
Yeah.
wasn't all roses. That there were a lot of thorns here. But
Yeah.
I'm. This is a confession here. I mean, I know it's not Sunday, but what I'm saying is that I consider myself to be very self-aware. I'm on a path of self-realization. I pride myself actually in being able to, because of my ability to sense and read energy and to really help people identify their behaviors. But I think the point I'm trying to make it is, Steve, when it's our lives, we are the dumbest.
Yeah.
If I can say
Yeah.
it, we're like, when it comes to ourselves, it's amazing how we revert to this. It's just shocking, because it's like, how could I have been so blind? And then I go deeper and I go, well, if I accept that this whole world is a place that's designed, a university that's designed for me to learn, then
life university.
Life university, and that every experience then becomes a part of that learning, then it makes no sense for me to judge one against the other as good,
Right.
bad, or ugly, right?
Yeah. It's
for me to learn that I don't have to, again, and you said this in one of the other episodes, and I love the line. In taking accountability for this, I don't have to like it, because I don't think anybody really likes the feeling of betrayal or abandonment or being used or abused. Yet, I don't have to like it, but can I love it? And by that, what I'm learning now is that loving it is really about seeing the whole matrix, the whole game of Maya, and love the way that the game has been orchestrated to give us these experiences so that we can ultimately, hopefully, own them and realize that we are bigger than them. In other words, as you're saying, we betray ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like we're all hypocrites when we say we're spiritual, but we don't sit in gratitude for what is. And that means both sides of the coin. The saint and the sinner. Can we love both of them? The support, the challenge. Can we love that? Someone's there for you, someone's stabbing you in the back. I love it.
See, that is so radical, Steve.
And I think that's what Joseph was referring to when he said, your guru could be the biggest prostitute that walks the face of the earth.
Yes.
But that's why they're your guru, for you to get that lesson. And you needed him to behave in that manner for that lesson. If he was being Mr. Nice Guy, you wouldn't get the lesson.
Absolutely. So when I go deeper, when you said, well, there's a reflection, there's our mirror again, basically saying, those qualities, that behavior is reflected in you, they have to be in you for you to be able to see them, right? And so it's like, when I look at that, and then I don't want to go into self-judgment, but I want to go into self-inquiry. And so that experience, just to kind of wrap a bit of that up, when I look at the gifts in it, when I look at so what were the positives, is that, my gosh, I learned so much, because they gave me knowledge, which I took and I applied. I applied it. And through the application of that, I was able to take it beyond understanding, and bring it to a knowing, because I was able to see how these dynamics and these models work out. And
how it served you.
It served me really well. Yes.
And how it served other people. And how you've been able to serve other people as a result of that experience.
Exactly. And so it kind of, in my own small way, it parallels what you're talking about, the hockey player. I mean, somebody could say, Steve, are you crazy? You're trying to tell me that him being, abused by his coach was actually not totally a bad thing, right? Is that what you're saying? But I think you're going beyond the good and the bad. And again, it's where I have been able to help people with the knowledge and the learning that I gained. First, I help myself, obviously. Yeah. And then through that, I've been able to really, really help people through so much. And also, I recognized what and how I didn't want to be, like what didn't resonate with me, right? Like, Because when you're around a certain behavior, you have two choices. Either you can match it and become just like that or not. Right? But by having that identified and seeing what was going on, I was able to acknowledge it. I didn't like it, but in learning to love it, I was able to say, okay, I will correct the course on my side so I stop continually betraying and abandoning me.
Exactly.
Right?
So your self-talk, because everything, I like to say that there's nothing that he could have said or done to you that you hadn't already said and done to yourself.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that. Sometimes that's very hard to fathom, especially if, I mean, this wasn't a world-ending terrible situation, but there are situations where people find themselves in, and it's very, very difficult to mediate, between the emotion and the commotion. I call it the emotion and the commotion, and being able to use it as a springboard. So the old Taron would have been maybe resentful, would have been hurt, would have felt, bad, and maybe even would have gotten even, because, when that good old mantra I used to have, don't get mad, just get even, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all of those parts of me would have wanted to engage and bring them down, okay?
Yeah.
Right? And yet through this process and this understanding of the guru within, okay, I have been able to not allow them to be the source of who I am and how I am, because I want how I am in this world to align with my values. And it wouldn't have been in alignment with my values to be vengeful, revengeful, right? Cause damage, cause harm, whatever it was, right? And that's, I think there's this kind of a grace and an elegance in being able to make peace, if you will, with, and this was a long time, 18-year or whatever, 15, it was a very long time friendship and colleagueship with a lot of good in it. I have to say that. And so I've truly come to the point where I don't bear any ill. But just going from the point of guru, what we're saying is good guru, bad guru. Well, guru, that was, I think, one of the greatest teachers in my life so far.
Yeah. And so when you can get to that place of saying, I look forward to experiencing more people like that in my life.
Okay.
Then your work's done, you see?
Oh boy, I think I have a few more decades to go then, because it's like, bring it on.
Yeah,
right?
Bring it on. And, I hope my friends and loved ones get to experience a person just like that in their life, because of the growth and the evolution that happens as a result of it, because who you were when you went in to sit at the feet of this master, so to speak, and who you are today is a completely different person. And so nothing is ever in the way, it's always on the way. And so we turn around and we say, thank you for being that jerk in my life, because you taught me where I was a jerk to myself and a jerk to other people.
Absolutely.
Remember, if you can spot it, you've got it. But we also have to realize that, how does someone being a jerk towards us benefit us? And how does ourselves being a jerk towards other people benefit them? But we've been so programmed to think that it's only a benefit if someone's nice to us and says all the right things. But can you imagine living with someone that said yes to you all the time, agreed with everything you said?
I fantasized about that, but okay, I know it's getting a bit personal now, but you mean a yes man or a yes woman, right?
Yeah, we couldn't handle it, and so we need the support, the challenge. It has to coexist, and when we can love what is, when we love both of it, and that's why I think you cannot bow to an external guru without also bowing to yourself.
Correct. You can't give what you don't have, in other words. And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
unfortunately, we have been steered from the youngest of the youngest to on a path in which we have been estranged from ourselves. And so we don't realize the light that we are and that we carry.
yeah.
Okay. And I know we're having a guest coming up in an upcoming episode that's going to speak to that in a most beautiful way, because she works right at the source with very little people at the beginning
Yeah.
of the educational process. And she actually instills in them the knowing that they are light and they're capable, and that they're, that they are peace and love and beauty. And she's done some amazing models and programs,
Yeah.
as opposed to what we went through. I mean, the whole concept of being a genius, it was just like not even a concept. It just wasn't even nobody looked at me and said, Taron, just by being here and being 5 or 6 years old or 7, you're a genius, don't you? Nobody ever said that. Yeah, right. I mean, but instead it was like, well, if you can just meet the lowest common denominator, a baseline of competency, then you're all right, and you're average, and you fit the norm of what we're trying to fit you in.
Yeah.
And you can go through your life, work hard and try not to be too mediocre. I mean, this is what I think the messaging is out there right now. And no wonder then we're looking for gurus, maybe where our parents failed us. Then we're looking for that parental guidance energy. And that's why maybe we turn to the motivational types and the next flavor of the week guru, who's going to show you through their secret method, if you just give up your power and sovereignty over yourself, right? What you're looking for, which, at the end of the day is belonging, acceptance, love.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is our theme again. We've had all of those things within us and we had no clue.
Yeah. It's a 6 human needs psychology. We're all looking for certainty, uncertainty, which is variety, love and connection, growth, contribution. We have to contribute to something greater than ourselves. But at the same time, we keep looking to these, gurus and their ashrams and stuff, and we think that they've got something that we don't have, because we've been so programmed by society, by marketing, tabloids, that we're not enough. And as I've worked around the world, it's the most common thing I hear with people saying, I'm not enough.
And you're talking to millionaires and billionaires.
Yes. Yeah.
And stars,
well-known stars. Running through the same story from all walks of life. I'm not enough. And so then we start looking outside for that which is within. And it's interesting, because I think that the one thing that all great geniuses have in common is that they always trusted their inner vision and their inner voice.
Okay. Which is part of their inner guru's consciousness.
Right. But us mere mortals, we tend not to, we don't trust our inner vision and our inner voice. And many times have we had that voice, their gut telling us something, and don't do it, and we go ahead and do it, and then we pay the price.
Right. We override it because we've been told by the outside world, right, to be practical and not so silly and do what you said, and all of those override our knowing, right? So
and I guarantee, as you said about this master teacher had been in your life, other people saw the signs and were trying to give you, the warning. But if you're really 100% honest with yourself, you saw them as well, but you weren't listening to your inner voice. I guarantee it.
Well, that's going to take a little. I will take that under consideration and really sit with that, because, I guess, sometimes if we're getting something, let's say I, love chocolate and you have lots of it, and you knew it had to come to chocolate sooner or later. You know that, right? I was trying to figure out where in this series can I introduce chocolate, okay? And I've done it. But let's say you had all the chocolate, and my desire and a need for chocolate was such that I allowed you to feed me that chocolate at whatever expense, and I refused to look at who was feeding me this, or maybe what was around them, or at what cost, is what you're saying. And somehow there's a willful blindness, which is very hard to accept, especially for somebody who considers
Uh,
himself so aware, right?
yeah.
Like
Ask Adam, the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
oh, okay,
Adam
you're
and
going
Eve.
way back. You're going way back now, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I feel that there's a setup. I feel that our
Yeah.
higher powers, we get set up in life, and there's things that we're just not allowed to see. We can see it in others, we can see it for others. And yes, to your point, there were a couple of very astute people around me that kept on going, oh my gosh, doesn't he see? Like, what is he not seeing?
Yeah.
But I always had an excuse or a reason or an explanation that was reasonable for things that wouldn't quite add up, right? I just wasn't.
That's
So
chocolate.
I like chocolate. Just give me some more chocolate, and stop upsetting the cart, because I'm getting my. And when we do an episode on addictions, we'll talk about that, right? We'll speak about. Um, so to be honest, yes. How honest do we get with ourselves? That maybe the value of the learning was worth the price I was paying, in whichever way, right? Is what you're saying. It's like, and so I'm, of course, I'm at the place in my life now, as I was writing the book and all that, that I've integrated so much of that because the theme of my life, how many retreats and seminars we've run, and how many events we've been a part of, where you get together for the weekend and you identify what your archetypes are, and what your life story has been. And mine used to consistently be betrayal, right? And abandonment and betrayal, right? And so I could probably say, oh my gosh, I don't know, it's just mind-boggling why even now, even after all these years, I keep on having people in situations where I feel they don't say what they're going to do, right? Or they say this and that, or they and it's the last several years that I was able to bring all these pieces together and do exactly what we discussed here, is to go, wait a minute, what if this was an inside job, right? And then begin to look at where I've been betraying myself, and where I've been so cleverly, because my intellect, my mind is so smart and so sharp. I remember one of my energy teachers, this story just came to mind. I remember we were in a class of 26. I was doing an advanced level energy management program, which is very intense in Vancouver. And the teacher was not happy with me. I was energetically doing, unwittingly, unknowingly, but still I was doing it. So he pulled me into his office and he sat down. And you know what he said to me? He said, Taron, do you know that you are very smart? He said, you are one of the most intelligent people, if not the most, here. And I'm thinking, why does this not sound like a compliment? Right? I mean, wow, how nice of the teacher to, call me in and tell me how smart I am, and wow, how intelligent I am, probably a genius, and all of that. So, but somehow the energy did not seem to connect. It was one of the, I think, most profound lessons in my life. Is stuff we don't want to hear, but I thank him in my heart of hearts for having he was truly a teacher, because he wasn't there to please me or get me to like him or to accept. He hauled me in and he said, yeah, you are very smart and you're very intelligent. You're very clever. Who's the cleverest? Right? You're very clever.
Yeah.
And then the message was, but who are you fooling, fool?
Mm-hmm.
You're not fooling us. We see the energy.
Right.
And I'm telling you, that went straight into the core of my being, the devastation, because this was my guru and my revered teacher that I have so much respect for, telling me that whatever manipulations and games and crap you're pulling, Taron, we see it. And the hardest part of that lesson, I wasn't doing this knowingly, or I didn't sit up every night and go, let me see how I can screw up the energy in the room and play my games, right? With my emotional blackmail and my cleverness and all that. And but man, it was you could call it a kick in the face, you could call it whatever, but you know what? It's the biggest favor he ever did for me, because it started me on a process of questioning every part of myself. It was like it shattered me, or who I thought I was. I thought I was a calm, kind person who respected people's space, and I just sat in my corner and minded my own business. All right, Steve, I'll deal with you later. Okay, but you know, this is the trouble when you have a brother from another mother. They know you way too well. Okay, but what I'm saying is, I really thought that I saw myself as a certain person, and for a good year, I went into, why? Oh my gosh. Now this means that I'm not the good person I thought I was. I am a bad person. I am lying to myself. I'm actually truly evil. And I thought I was good,
Sometimes.
but obviously, well, but you see, it sent me into this huge self-questioning mode when this was put in front of me, because I had created an image of myself that sometimes wasn't there. I was a good, spiritual, wonderful, loving, always caring, never controlling person. You know that, Steve. Come on, stop smiling.
Yeah.
Okay, you know that about me. But it took that hit. And I could say to you, well, that was such a bad experience. He was so mean to me. He could have been nicer. I wish he had, done it in a way that didn't devastate me and make me get depressed. I mean, I can create a whole story around it, or I can just say, thank you, because the gift he gave me by that brutal honesty sent me on a course in which I cleaned up my act. And I took accountability. I got help. I got feedback. And I learned not to mistake someone's love for me with their being honest with me. Does that make sense? It was because they had love and care for me that they took the risk of being honest, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's led you to do what you do today. And that's one of the things, makes you good at what you do, is that you're brutally honest with your clients.
Thank you. I am.
So you say the exact same thing that he said to you. Whatever needed to be said was said, and whatever needed to be heard was heard, and it was perfect. But again, we still think that our teachers should be just nice, supportive, and kind. But sometimes you just need to give you a really good kick up the backside and call it the way it is, and for you to come down off your high horse and to be humbled.
And I wasn't on my horse.
Thank you.
Yes.
And when you can say thank you for the praise and thank you for the criticism.
Yes.
You see? But it's constructive criticism, not destructive. Yeah. But when we say thank you to both, then you don't buy into the praise.
Yes.
Because if you buy into the praise, you've got to buy into the criticism.
You set yourself up. That's the detachment.
Exactly.
Isn't it? That's the saying thank you to everything. And we'll go into a deeper therapeutic analysis. I now understand in my own personal story, maybe there'll be the next book, the challenges that I had growing up, like we all do, coming, living in a certain country, coming to another country, putting up with all kinds of ugliness and meanness, and having a quick mind. Yes, I do. I started to use it as a weapon, right? In order to feel safe. In other words, you develop a bit of a superiority complex, right? That's a word that they used to use in those days, in psychology. Mm-hmm. But you don't know you're doing it. And maybe the reasons for doing it might be justifiable, but the energy and the actions, because my energy at that time was being toxic to the energies of other in the room, which shocked me, because that's the last thing I would ever in my heart of hearts want to be, ever. I actually considered myself to want to be the most, right? So sometimes, as saintly as we see ourselves as being, I thank the gurus in my life that said, get over yourself. And by the way, You might be smart, intelligent, and all this, but who are you fooling, fool? I'll never forget that. That was 35 years ago.
Yeah.
But you're right. It gave me the ability now to get real, and it gave me the ability to actually own my shadow. I'm bringing it back to how you said the darkness. Why am I the light in me greets the light in you? Well, can the shadow in me greet the shadow in you? And what it did was it shone light on the shadow. And I got onto the path at that time, and it hasn't stopped, of owning my shadow and loving it equally. And it's because of that that I have become very astute and very quick at being able to see the dynamic in you, even though you would be deeply affronted if I said, "Hey, Steve," because right, like what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
I can just see it. It's just shown to me because I had to see it in myself.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so the question really should be, to be more honest here in this podcast, is who isn't my guru? All right, maybe we'll need to
Everyone.
rename it. Who isn't my
Everyone and
guru?
everything.
And I was just going to say, and what isn't my guru?
Yeah.
Because I remember one of the teachers, one of the mentors telling me that the deepest lessons they had in their training, spiritual training, and they were very advanced, was they were given a lesson to go watch ants, little ants and anthills. And they thought, what the hell? I'm already a, this level master, and I can do that. And I can, take out half the town in one breath and whatever, right? And I've been given a homework to go watch a bunch of ants. Like, are you frigging kidding me? And yet apparently that was one of the most enlightening experiences in their life.
Yeah.
So can you learn from an ant?
Yeah. Everyone's your teacher.
Right? And everything, the tree out there, all of nature, if we can be open to learning and growing, which why wouldn't we be? Because that's what we're here for. Why would I enroll myself in a university and enroll in programs and commit to a process when I'm not open to learning?
Yeah.
So in that sense, I want to be clear. It's not that I can't come to you and say, Steve, please guide me. You have an experience in this area. You have a gift. Please reflect back to me your experience. Let me know how you handle this, or would you teach me this model, or will you help me how to do X, Y, or Z? It's not that I cannot have all these gurus in my life, but the ultimate guru, the one that everything and everyone goes through and gets filtered or integrated or mediated, is my inner guru. So I can take what you have to say, and this is how I always sign off on a lot of my messages to people, or when I start working with a client, I'd say, listen, I know you think you're paying me to give you advice, but I'm sorry, I don't do that. And they look at me like, wait a minute, I'm giving you the big bucks and you're not going to give me any advice? Wait a minute, we need to renegotiate this contract. I go, no, wait a minute. I'm not here to give you advice, but I'm going to give you a lot of out of sight insights from my experience, from other people's experience, things I've studied, things I've experienced, other clients. I'm going to give you a lot of insights and inspirations and material for your consideration.
Yeah.
So when I say this is for your consideration, what I'm trying to say to you is, please don't make me in charge of your final decision. Right. Should I do this or not? Should I leave them or should I stay? Should I quit? I said, how do I know? Yeah. But let's go through a process where I can empower you with the right questions, with the experiences, with the learnings, and the tools you may need, that you can then take all of those and funnel them through your own inner guru and learn how to hear that part of you and listen to the guidance, because you will get your custom-made solution because it came with you before you got here. Right. So if it's really the awareness. And so then, and it's, some people have a hard time understanding that. And I'm telling you, if it was just about building a clientele and making lots of money, I'm not doing this right, because I'm not giving advice. I'm not giving you the answers. I'm not telling you what's right and wrong for you. And that's bad business, because 8 out of 10 people want to pay you a lot of money to do it for them.
Yeah.
And
I love what Rupert Spira said. He said that the real purpose of a teacher is to liberate us from the dependence on objects or people for peace and happiness.
That's very good. To liberate us from objects and people for our peace and happiness.
Yeah.
That's very eloquent. So they again bring you to the precipice of your own greatness.
Exactly. The
Right?
light within
Rather than saying you're deficient, you're damaged, you're really not worth a lot. But if you hang around with me, a little bit will rub off, and meanwhile, give me your energy.
And your
Right?
money.
Well, right. And you know, I mean, the stories are endless. And of course, the country I come from, it's such a huge, huge game.
Yeah.
And there's still and okay, so I want to say something about that, just so that people don't write to me and say, "Oh, you guys are so judgmental," you know. So what if I want to, you know, follow Guru X, Y, and Z, or what if I believe in this lady and her message, and I want to, you know, and they're correct. I have no right to judge that. I'm asking for discernment. I'm asking for people to say, be a little discerning in asking what's the energy, the intent, but not even looking at them, looking at yourself. I also believe, and I guess my little story of woe today, I didn't know we were going to go into it, but is a perfect of example of that. We are exactly where we needed to be to learn what we needed to learn. So if there's certain people out there right now in that guru game, let me call it that, you know, and I'm looking going, oh my gosh, can't they see? Oh no, this is bad news. Oh, maybe I need to save them. You know, somebody tell them, like there's something not okay here. Well, I mean, if I could have heard that, right? So I think sometimes we also have to have that compassion and just hold that space and have that love for somebody who's having that experience.
Because we can't know what's best for another human being.
There you go. Yeah. We think we can know. I think I thought I was pretty good at that, by the way. And but we cannot know. And how humbling is that? How truly humbling is that? Where I can give you thoughts for consideration as to what has worked with me and for me, with some of my clients and through my studies and things that I've learned, and from the masters in the past. That's why I love it. I have master souls that I follow and that I adore and I enjoy. But I don't confuse the teaching with the teacher. See, my focus is on their teaching and what that embodied. If they were able to live in alignment with that, that's a bonus. See, I don't have to discard the teaching because the teacher was human, right? Like you said, the greatest prostitute in the world, and maybe why don't they have the right to be the number one guru? A lot of good food for thought here today. That, you know, we've got some very deep themes here in terms of good guru, bad guru, or isn't everyone our guru? Is, you know, I mean, and are we here to move from darkness into our light? Are we not here to dispel the darkness or the ignorance so that we can lighten up and be light beings? And light in and of itself just gets invited, and it blossoms, it unfolds, it illuminates, it's self-illuminating. And when it does that, it illuminates everything around it too, without any conditions.
So that's the true meaning behind lighten up, will you?
There you go. I think that will be the mantra for this episode. Lighten up, will you? Lighten up, will you? Right? And I think just that alone will remind us, hey, Taron, lighten up, will you? Okay, so you had this owie. Yeah, you got beat up a little bit. Oh, well, let's get that resilience and that ability to just bounce back like we had when we came on the planet. The kids just constantly bounce back. We'll be talking about that with our friend on an episode upcoming, because that's what, you know. And so where did we lose that ability? So you're right. Lighten up, will you? And
on that thought,
I think we need to wrap up today, Guru Steve. I want to wish you peace in the form of Om Shanti, and I look forward to our next episode.
Likewise. Take care, my friend.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
We trust you found practical value in this podcast and will enthusiastically share it with others in your circle. And if you are so moved, leave us a review or write a post on social, tagging #ChaiChatPodcast, and we will show our appreciation. Promise. Taron Puri and Steve Harvey welcome you to join us for a Chai Chat at all of our live events and more. Connect with us with your questions, topic suggestions, and reviews at info@chaichatpodcast.com.